Good morning. It's Thursday's reading skills. Let's get started. So before we crack into our ongoing text, another little recommendation or sharing of a book that I love from me, and a book that I really enjoyed, I think when I was in year 6, and then I've enjoyed actually reading to year 6s at school now that I'm a teacher, has been Goodnight Mr. Tom. It's the story of a evacuee during the Second World War and his life after he is moved halfway across the country to live with quite an austere and brash older man. It's a story of the relationship between them, of William's troubled past and his journey to become a more confident and happy boy. The bit that I would like to share with you today is a really great example of Michelle Magorian, the author's brilliant use of show don't tell. It's a really clever little passage that just shows her skills as an author. It follows directly after William has been out and about, and a dog comes up to him, jumps up at him, and William, the evacuee boy, really overreacts and takes a swing at the dog with a stick. And Mr. Tom, the man who's looking after him, who William doesn't know at all yet, hasn't got to know him, Mr. Tom sends him back to the house. And William's heading back to the house. And as we read the passage, we're going to think about how we can tell something about William's emotions. So, William walked shakily towards the cottage, his head lowered. Through blurred eyes, he saw the tufts of grass spilling up between the small flat stones. The sweat trickled down the sides of his face and chest. His armpits stung savagely, and a sharp pain stabbed at his stomach. He walked through the front door and stood in the hallway, feeling the perspiration turn cold and clammy. Tom walked into the front room and stood waiting for him to enter. Let's just check on a couple of words that we might want definitions of. Where are we? I wanted something to becoming clammy. So we say that our skin is clammy if we have sort of cold sweats. If we, or sort of sweating in the night, that kind of thing, our skin would be clammy to touch, sort of a little bit damp and sort of sweaty. Talking of sweat, we have the word perspiration. Perspiration is the scientific name for the word sweat. So if we think about that passage as a whole then, my question, it would be a bit of an explain question, would be how does the writer show that William is frightened? How does the writer show that William is frightened? I'd like you to pause here and have a little look if you can find evidence that shows us that William is frightened. Okay, so let's look at the evidence that we've got. So firstly, we're looking for the author's use of William's actions and reactions to an event. That gives us the indication of how he's feeling. What she doesn't do is say, William was scared or William is terrified. She doesn't put it in black and white. She shows us what William does and the way in his physical reactions in order to tell us how he's feeling. So the first example would be William walked shakily. The fact that he can't walk normally tells us he's having a big emotional reaction. Similarly, he's seeing through blurred eyes. Yeah, he's so kind of worked up that he's not seeing clearly. Through blurred eyes, he saw the tufts of grass spilling up between the small flat stones. So then we've also got some sort of body reactions here. We've got sweat trickling down the side of his face and chest. We've got his armpits stinging savagely and a sharp pain in his stomach. So this tells us he's sweating because he's kind of so terrified, so nervous. His heart rate's going. And he's got this sort of big, painful knot in his stomach because he's so worried about what might happen. He walked through the front door and stood in the hallway, feeling no more mention of sweat. The perspiration turned cold and clammy. Tom walked into the front room and stood waiting for him to enter. So there's all our information about how we know that William is frightened. I wonder if you can make a prediction. What do you think he's frightened of? What is he so nervous and scared of? You'd have to read the book to find out. Okay, let's move on with our text for today. We did a bit of explaining there, explaining an author's choice. And explain is going to be one of our features today. We're going to explain and retrieve. Those are our Viper skills for today. So before we move on to today's text, I wanted to just guide you through some explaining questions. And one of these is an explain question where you kind of have to bring your own knowledge in order to answer the question. So we're going to use yesterday's text, which was all about diet. And we're going to explain the differences and similarities between Mayan and modern UK diets. So we're making comparisons between the Mayan diet and that of us. So as I go through, I'm looking for key information that can either be a similarity, something that's the same as the UK, or different. You must be happy to survive on a diet consisting of fruits, nuts, vegetables, beans, and grains. But above every other food, you must love maize. This food is a very important part of our lives and even features in our creation story. So that's different. Here I found a difference. You don't have to love maize to enjoy the UK diet. We use maize in a lot of different ways. It can be used to make flatbread, porridge, or even be fermented to produce beer. So we've got all these links to maize here. That's going to be my difference. So that the Mayan diet uses almost all one grain maize, whereas in the UK we don't. Another special food for us Mayans is cacao, which is enjoyed because of its rich chocolatey flavour. It is often mixed with chili to create a delicious drink. Well, here I think I've got a similarity because, like the UK, the Mayans enjoy chocolate flavours. They enjoy sort of hot chocolate style drink. You might find a difference there, that the Mayans enjoyed chocolate with chili, whereas that's not a common flavour for us. But I think those are two really obvious differences and similarities. So I'm looking for that kind of information to answer an explain question. Let's look at today's text. We've got two paragraphs, one about Mayan appearance and one about religion. We're going to read the appearance one together, and then you're going to read the religion one yourself. Appearance. To be considered as beautiful in our Mayan society, you should ideally have a large nose and a sloped forehead. Cross eyes are also considered to be very attractive in our culture. So stop there a second. So to be considered beautiful, you should have a large nose and a sloped forehead. Okay. Cross eyes are also considered to be very attractive in our culture. Now, crossed eyes are when the pupils in our eyes, rather than focusing together, like, I'll see if we can make this work. My eyes follow my fingers. You should hopefully have seen them moving together. Cross eyes, they kind of work a little bit more isolated and they're often focused inwards. I can't do it very well. I'm not very good at it. Some people can make their eyes crossed just like that. It's when our pupils are both facing inwards. It's not something that we consider to be beautiful or unbeautiful in the UK, but in the Mayan society, that was a really big deal. So, moving on, if your head is not already the correct shape, it can be bound between two flat boards in order to create the perfect shape. As well as this, a bead on a string can be attached to the boards so it can make you become cross-eyed. Let's stop there a second. So the Mayans practiced skull shaping. They used boards to squish softer parts of the skull so that the head could be shaped just the way they wanted it to be because of what they considered beautiful. Pretty barbaric kind of thing, but that's what they did. And they also used a bead on a string kind of dangled in front of the eyes so that if you continuously focused on that, you would have that cross-eyed look they were looking for. What about the flat nose? Well, it finishes by saying you can always make your nose look bigger using clay if you wish. That's the appearance paragraph. The religion paragraph's there, so you now may want to pause and read that one. Okay, here come the questions for today. Question 1, explain how the Mayan idea of beauty compares to our ideas today. Question 2, what is the role of the god Hun Xim? Question 4, find 3 facts. Sorry, I've missed one there, haven't I? Question 3, what is the Popol Vuh? Question 4, find 3 facts from the religion section of the text. And question 5, just bringing in your own knowledge, can you think of any other civilizations that worshipped many gods or lots of gods like the ancient Mayans? So pause and have a go at those questions. Here come your answers. Explain how the Mayan idea of beauty compared to our ideas today. So we were looking for the fact that their beliefs about beauty were completely different to ours. So you might have made mention of the skull shaping, the cross-eyed or the nose, and how this is not something that's considered to be beautiful in our culture today. What is the role of the god Hun Xim? You needed to make mention that he's the maize god or that he controls the harvest. The Popol Vuh was the holy book. 3 facts that you were looking for. Well, so long as they came from the text, you're all good. So it might be that you said that the Mayans worshipped many gods. It might be that you talked about that holy book. They had a holy book called the Popol Vuh. Or it might be that you mentioned the maize god and you gave his name. Other civilizations that worship many gods like ancient Mayans, well, you could have had quite a range there. You could have had the Romans, the Greeks, the Aztecs, maybe the Egyptians. Or you might have used a modern one like the Hindu religion, where they worship many gods as well. Okay, so that's us for reading skills today. I'll be back tomorrow for our final one of the week. I'll see you then, Year 5.